70% of people that grew up in a home with domestic violence end up practicing domestic violence.
Yeah.
If you got promoted under a toxic boss, you will become toxic. When your boss is overbearing and is all of those things, and you manage to grow and you become that boss, you will see yourself.
See, that is a premium trend. Hi guys, welcome to Heart Echoes on botchpod.com, where we talk about life's most intricate topics. We talk about matters around pain, pleasure, masculinity, feminism, and everything emotional. I remain your humble host Alimar, and today we have a premium veteran in the house, like literally a veteran in the building. Ladies and gentlemen, please help me welcome the one and only Olowo.
Why? Why was the hype? Why?
Guys, please meet Tosin.
Hi guys, it feels good to be here.
Does it?
Right now it does. Before the podcast now. Right now I think we're getting there.
Okay. That's fine. So Tosin, long time. No
Actually,
see.
no see.
Have all your bad characters, have you worked on them?
No, I think I'm getting worse. But in the future we'll try to work on it.
I'm going to comport myself. Guys, I can do this. I will comport myself today. So, our topic, I specifically gave this particular topic to Tosin.
Touche.
I have a very, very, very strong feeling that he'll be able to relate to this on premium levels, like different levels. So today our topic is about toxic masculinity. Tosin, does that sound familiar?
Next question. Moving on.
I just
Moving on. Nice one.
I like.
So this is a trap, huh?
I choose these topics for my guests. In fact, my guests, I always choose topics that are relatable to them. And you really
How do you know me?
I feel like you can relate to this.
What did you
one.
say my name was? Let's start with, how do you know me?
You've already started this toxic.
You don't know me, so you don't know. Well, let's continue. Toxic masculinity.
So is it something you think you can relate?
I'll say yes, of course.
Why?
It's something because I did a course in psychology, and I've had to go through lots of people that have such traits, and yeah.
But you're not a therapist, Sha.
Do you want to pay for a session?
No, I'm just asking now.
So that, well, I'm not yet a therapist now.
You still say you don't start. Shebi, you still say you don't start.
Yeah, I can say.
Okay. So, sir,
Yes, ma'am.
please, sir, can you enlighten us better on, like an overview of what you think is about?
So first of all, I'm not an authority in this field, so I can only give what I think it is. And to start with, I think maybe we should have a background to where toxic masculinity started from. Do you think so? Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you heard of the word patriarchy.
Yeah.
So I think toxic masculinity. Why am I having an issue with pronouncing the word masculinity? Toxic masculinity started from patriarchy. Now, we could Google patriarchy, right? So I feel when something happens outside of the environment, when something happens everywhere, it is bound to come personal. When there is, let me look for an example. If the government is bad, it's definitely going to affect things like the home, because people in the government start from where? The home, right? So patriarchy has to do with government institutions and all the likes, and there is no way people practicing patriarchy would definitely not have toxic masculinity. Now, toxic masculinity.
Sorry, this patriarchy, I know we can Google it too, you understand? But please, just small, even if it's just 2 sentences.
Now, this is very difficult. Patriarchy is a system in a society in which males get to control everything that happens in that society.
Okay.
Where things like government positions, things like who makes
Decisions.
decisions. Just everything it's tilted to the men making all of the decisions,
That's not.
getting the better jobs because they feel women aren't up to par with them.
That's literally almost how the whole world works right now.
Well, the world this is a patriarchal world, right? It's now we're
Yeah.
trying to make it better,
Yeah.
gender equality and the likes. So toxic masculinity stems from that because in that you now see things like men trying to hide their emotions, trying to be hard, trying to all the things that come with toxic masculinity.
Okay.
Yeah.
So do you think you've ever, exceeded that trait before?
I feel I am lucky. And why I feel I'm lucky is because my younger sister is my best friend. So do you know what that means? If I try it, she'll smell it from a mile away and treat my fuck ups.
Not going to say anything. So
Of
do you have
course.
friends or family members or maybe people, you've been with that?
Yes, I do.
So how did you identify that? Oh, this person has toxic masculinity.
First of all, toxic masculinity is the first thing you will notice that it's toxic to the person before it's even toxic to people
Other
around them.
people. Hmm.
An example is you feeling hurt, but you not being able to express it. Why? Because you have to be the man, right? Now, I'll be honest, females don't help at all. I've had issues, I've had scenarios where I had this lady saying things, she was telling another friend, and I was there pressing my phone, and she was like, yeah, she likes a man that is a man. And I'm wondering, okay, what is the definition of a man? That, yeah, okay, he can, that sometimes that he goes through something, he can say it, but imagine him saying it again the second time, it's a turn off. And I just looked at the person, I continue pressing my phone because obviously what you're trying to say is that he can fall once, but if he's falling the second time, it's a turn off for you. You don't want him to express his emotions
But what
because
if
it's
that
a
person
turn off.
generally just sees it as nagging?
Because you had an issue the first time and the second time you have an emotional breakdown, you should hold it in. Well, guys, I'm sure you can see her giving excuses for such, right? So who can
I'm
relate now?
trying. I'm trying my best. So, in other words, right, this holding up their emotions now lead them to exude other, will I say, more toxic traits.
First of all, before we go there, it leads to depression. That's the first thing. When I don't express my emotion, it doesn't affect you in any way. It affects me. So you even trying to turn it the other way around. Well, I'm sure you guys can understand. I would say it. But yeah, it leads to depression. Now let's come to how it affects other people. Domestic violence. Do you know it's under toxic masculinity because you think you can dominate, you feel you should. I've seen a scenario where a man said he is married to this woman, he pays the bill, and he feels he should discipline her when she's wrong. That's toxic masculinity. Now, what's your disciplining? You're laying your hands on her. So apart from the fact that you're holding in so many things inside you, the way you treat people around you, you tend to carry yours. There's a difference between pride and arrogance. You begin to get arrogant. There is this proverb that people in the village use. The president rules over the nation. A man rules over his home. You've heard something like that before. So in that, you now feel that's a good proverb, by the way. But because of how toxic you are, you now feel I should be in total control. I should not let any insolence into my home. I should not let this happen. I should not let that happen. And that way, you overdo things, and people are not free around you in your home, in the office, most especially. At
Wait, there's
home, okay.
something I'm not really clear about that is still confusing me right now,
All
right?
right.
So we established that toxic masculinity comes from when a person cannot express their emotions.
That's one.
Okay, there are other
Of course.
things like what?
That's why I just spoke about domestic violence, for example, right? I just spoke about having a false sense of entirety, arrogance, all of these
Okay.
things. Those are the traits of
But I feel like
toxic
those are
masculinity.
that's like, okay, I feel like that's the result, like that is the traits of somebody that has toxic masculinity. But like we're talking about what causes.
What causes the society? The first thing I'll say is where you grow. That's the first
Okay.
thing. How you grow is how you'd. An example of how you grow is 70% of people that grew up in a home with domestic violence end up practicing domestic violence.
Yeah.
They hate their dads for doing it. They hate people around. If their dad beat their mom, they hate the dad so much. They grow up and they find themselves beating their wives.
Oh.
So, well, 70%, not all. Same thing with toxic masculinity. Your dad did it. You don't have relationship with your dad because he's always uptight. He does this, he does that. He shows all the
Yeah.
traits. You would see yourself doing it. An example also is at workplaces. Now, if you got promoted under a toxic boss, you will become toxic. When your boss is overbearing and is all of those things, and you manage to grow and you become that boss, you would see yourself
See, that is a premium trend.
being toxic.
Like a serious premium trend. Like you see them saying things like, "You guys even have it easy." When I was this, do you know
Exactly.
what we used to go through?
Yeah.
Like it's more like okay, because you faced it, every other person under you have to face it.
And it's not their fault if we're going to be honest. You see, therapy is something we wash down. I feel everybody deserves therapy in one way or the other.
There's this emotional enlightenment I feel when people talk about therapy on my show. And coming from a man, I'm proud of you.
Oh, thank you. From you saying that it's unlike you, but thank you. I'll take that.
Do you know what you just made me realize now? That both men and women
Yeah.
can have this toxic masculine trait, right?
No, women have theirs. They cover theirs with
But you know
feminism.
there are women. No, but like you know there are women that have masculine energy.
Yeah.
Premium doesn't mean they behave like men, but they have like toxic, like they have real serious masculine energy. Especially women that grew up in, will I say, an environment where they watch women not being provided for. So unconsciously they feel like I can deal with my shit myself. And since you're not, will I say, since they're not under anybody, or since they don't feel like they can be under anybody, for some reason, they want to be over everybody. I don't know how to put what I'm saying. They
Okay.
want to, more like control freaks. They want to control
But
whoever.
that's not toxic masculinity. Now, toxic masculinity comes from facts, from your sex, being a man.
So you have to be a man.
Yes.
To
Now, in that case, she
toxic
had
feminism.
something that led to that. Any human being, I can be someone that don't have that trait, but because I grew up in a home where I was being suppressed, now that I'm
Yeah.
free, I'll decide I don't want to ever be suppressed. And what do? I suppress other people.
True.
That's something similar to what you're saying, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So those are different things. But toxic masculinity, the first thing, toxic masculinity covers itself in responsibility. Do you know? The men feel they are being responsible. They feel they are being men. So there's also a bit of self-deceit in it.
True.
So
But in a way, do you think this has something to do with narcissism?
of course, when you have toxic masculinity, you're a narcissist because if you think about it, it has to be you.
Right.
Yeah, it always has to be. Even when you're caring for people, you're caring for them because you feel it is my duty to do it in this way. It somehow, some way, still comes down to you. The only time it doesn't come down to you is when you're having to hide your emotions to do it. So an example is what, especially when I say it hurts. In a home, let me give a very bad example. A poor home, you cannot afford the school fees, and your children come back home. You don't tell your wife about your finances because you feel you're the man and she doesn't have the right to know about it, right? And you're broke. Your children are back home.
Yeah.
You cannot say it to your wife, and then you go out to go look for a way. Now, I promise you, that man in his mind thinks, I am doing my best right now. I'm going to go out and make sure I find this school fees. And you come home with that pride thinking, I did it, and I did it because I care about my children.
Do you know right now you're making me emotional? But maybe this is another topic I'm going to talk about on this podcast. Because men really go through a lot and you guys really can't say it.
When they are being toxic, that's when they can't say it.
But a lot of men can't say it, but not all of them are toxic. That's what
That's also
society,
toxic. Like, toxic masculinity doesn't have to be toxic to to everybody, to
everybody, you can
yourself.
be toxic to yourself.
Yes, it's a two-way street. That's the problem with toxic
So how do you
masculinity.
think someone going through this can really help themselves?
Okay, knowledge is power, I'll say. And when you know, first of all, that you are exuding some kind of traits, then you can now decide to change, right?
Yeah.
So you need to know, first of all, then have
Acceptance.
therapy. Now, even without the therapy, when you know, you would want to make effort to change. You would, as I said, knowledge. So you begin to know, okay, if I do this, it leads to this. Knowledge is power. Also lead you not to even be with partners that will trigger that. Most of the times when you're not with
Yeah.
someone you are free with,
True,
like that lady I
true,
spoke
true,
about, it
true.
will feel like nagging.
Yeah. So
Yeah.
like you have to still pick your partner wisely.
And you have to pick a partner that is right, because you might pick a partner that thinks she's helping you with your toxic mentality, and then you become a nag in the middle of it. So
Yeah.
you still have to be a man, you still have to be upright, but not be toxic about it, so that you don't now become a vegetable. Oh, I've been toxic before, and now you're just there crying because you're trying not
So
to
you
be so
still have to
toxic.
be a man in your healing phase.
Exactly, you still have
Wahala
to,
for who be
because
man.
even women, they stand on their 2 feet. So
Yeah. Thank you so much, Tosin. And I really appreciate your coming. So, guys, let's not forget the emphasis on therapy. Like, even if you don't want people to know that you're going through therapy, you can just do it in secret. Honestly, therapy goes a long way and it's really underemphasized on this part of the country. Thank you guys for watching. I remain your humble host Halima and Tosin. Bye, guys.
bye.